The phone call came at 7:23 a.m. on a Tuesday, exactly 3 weeks before what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. I was sitting in my modest apartment sipping coffee and reviewing quarterly reports for Phoenix Hospitality Group, my $2.8 billion empire that my family knew absolutely nothing about. "Emma, we need to talk." Dad's voice was stern, businesslike. "Come to the house. Now." I knew this wasn't good. Dad only used that tone when he was about to deliver what he considered an important family decision, the kind where everyone else had already been consulted except me. 20 minutes later, I walked into the familiar living room of my childhood home. Mom sat stiffly on the leather sofa, her lips pressed into a thin line. Dad stood by the fireplace like he was addressing a board meeting. My younger sister, Jessica, lounged in the armchair, scrolling through her phone with that smirk she'd perfected since high school. "Sit down, Emma," Dad commanded, not looking at me. I stayed standing. "What's this about?" "Your wedding," Mom said coldly. "We've made a decision." My heart began to race, though I kept my face neutral. "What kind of decision?" Dad turned to face me, his jaw set. "We're not paying for this circus anymore." The words hit like a slap. "Excuse me." "You heard me," he said, crossing his arms. "This whole production you've planned, it's ridiculous. $75,000 for one day? The venue, the flowers, the photographer, it's all excessive." "We agreed on the budget months ago," I said quietly. Jessica finally looked up from her phone. "Yeah, well, that was before we realized how much money you were wasting on stupid stuff." "Like what?" "Like that dress," Mom snapped. $4,000 for something you'll wear once. And those centerpieces. Who needs crystal and gold leaf at a wedding? I took a deep breath. "I've been planning this for 8 months. Marcus and I." "Marcus," Dad interrupted with a sneer. "That's another problem. The guy works at a nonprofit. What kind of future is that? No ambition. No real income. He's a good man." "Good doesn't pay bills," Mom added sharply. "Maybe this is a sign you should reconsider the whole thing." My chest tightened. "You want me to call off my wedding?" "We want you to be realistic," Dad said. "Find someone who can actually afford the lifestyle you seem to expect. Someone with prospects." Jessica smirked. "Yeah, because living in that tiny apartment and driving a 10-year-old Honda really screams high expectations." The room fell silent. I looked at each of their faces. Dad's stern disapproval, Mom's cold judgment, Jessica's amused contempt. These people had raised me, supposedly loved me. And now they were dismantling the most important day of my life like it was a failed business venture. "So what exactly are you saying?" I asked. Dad walked to his desk and pulled out a folder. "I've already called the venue. Cancelled everything. The deposits are forfeited, but at least we're not throwing away the full amount." My stomach dropped. "You cancelled my wedding venue?" "Our name was on the contracts," Mom said matter-of-factly. "Legally we had every right." "The caterer too," Jessica added. "And the photographer." "Oh, and the florist." I stared at them in disbelief. "You cancelled my entire wedding without telling me?" "We're telling you now," Dad said flatly. "Consider it a favor. You'll thank us later when you find someone more suitable. Someone who can afford you." The room spun. 8 months of planning. Gone. The dress I'd fallen in love with. The photographer Marcus and I had spent weeks choosing. The menu we'd crafted together. The flowers that reminded me of my grandmother's garden. All of it, erased. "I can't believe you did this," I whispered. "Believe it," Dad said. "And next time maybe think before you plan something so far beyond your means." I looked at them one last time. Dad, the successful investment banker who built his reputation on calculated risks. Mom, who'd married him for his money and spent 30 years perfecting the art of looking down on people. Jessica, the spoiled princess who'd never worked a day in her life but somehow felt entitled to judge mine. "Understood," I said simply. The word hung in the air. They'd expected tears, arguments, maybe even begging. Instead I gave them nothing. "Good," Dad said, clearly pleased. "Now you can focus on finding someone more appropriate. Someone who won't embarrass the family." I nodded and walked toward the door. "Emma," Jessica called out. "Don't be dramatic. This is for your own good." I paused with my hand on the doorknob. "I'm not being dramatic. I'm being practical." And I left. The drive back to my apartment felt surreal. 23 years old. MBA from Northwestern. Secretly running a $2.8 billion hospitality empire. And my parents had just canceled my wedding because they thought I couldn't afford it. The irony was breathtaking. I'd built Phoenix Hospitality Group from nothing, starting with a single property I bought at 19 using money I'd made developing apps in college. 4 years later, I owned 17 luxury venues across 3 states, including the Grand Aunt Estate, the exact venue where my wedding was supposed to take place. My parents had no idea their daughter owned the most exclusive wedding venue in the city. They thought I was just another struggling graduate living paycheck to paycheck. I'd let them think that. It was easier than explaining how I'd sold a tech company for $12 million and reinvested every penny into real estate. But now they'd crossed a line. When I parked outside my apartment, I sat for a moment staring at the steering wheel. My phone buzzed, a text from Marcus. "Hey babe, just confirmed the final head count with the caterer. 127 guests. Can't wait to marry you in 3 weeks." My heart ached. He had no idea what had just happened. I needed to call him. But first I had a few other calls to make. I dialed my assistant. "Sir, it's Emma. I need you to pull the Grand Aunt contracts immediately." "The Grand Aunt Estate, your wedding venue?" "Yes. And review the cancellation policies for deposits." "Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine. Just unusual circumstances." Next I called my head of legal. "David, hypothetical question. If someone canceled a booking at one of our venues using forged authorization, what would our legal recourse be?" He paused. "That would be fraud. Potential criminal charges." "Why?" "Just curious. Please send me the relevant statutes." "Of course." "Emma, is Phoenix Hospitality facing a legal issue?" "Nothing like that. Just being thorough." When I hung up, I sat still for exactly 60 seconds, long enough to feel the full weight of the betrayal. The humiliation. The cruelty of people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. Then I stood up, straightened my shoulders, and started planning my response. The next morning I was reviewing property reports when my phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello. Emma, what the hell is going on?" It was Dad. He was shouting. "Good morning to you too," I said calmly, sipping my coffee. "The venue just called me. They're saying they can't refund our deposits because the owner personally, canceled our refund. They said you canceled it." "That's interesting," I murmured. "Interesting? Emma, this is $7,500 we're talking about. They said the owner specifically requested that the Martinez family receive no refund under any circumstances." "Don't blame me," I said. "What did you do? Did you call them and complain? Did you cause some kind of scene?" "I didn't cause any scene, Dad." "Then why are they saying this?" The venue manager kept talking about direct orders from ownership and non-negotiable policies. "Emma, what the hell did you tell them?" I leaned back in my chair. Through my office window, I could see the Grand Aunt Estate in the distance. Its 40 acres of lakefront property glimmering in the morning sun. "I didn't tell them anything they didn't already know," I said lightly. "That's not an answer, Emma. You need to fix this right now. Call them back and straighten it out." "I don't think I can do that." "What do you mean you can't?" "The owner's decision is final." There was a long pause. "Emma," he said slowly, "how do you know what the owner decided?" "Lucky guess." "This isn't funny. We need that money back. Do you have any idea how much $7,500 is?" I almost laughed. My father was having a breakdown over $7,500 while sitting 3 miles away from my corporate headquarters, where I'd signed a $340 million acquisition just last week. "It's probably not that much to the owner," I said. "I imagine they make that in about 6 minutes." "Emma, what are you talking about? How could you possibly know?" His voice cut off abruptly. "Dad? You still there?" "Emma." His voice had changed, quieter now, uncertain. "What's the name of the company that owns the Grand Aunt Estate?" "Why do you ask?" "Just tell me." "Phoenix Hospitality Group." Silence. "Dad." "Emma." He hesitated. "Emma, what's your last name?" "Legally it's still Martinez," I said. "But professionally I go by Emma Phoenix." The line went dead silent. For a moment I thought he'd hung up. "Dad. You're Emma Phoenix?" "That's right. The Emma Phoenix?" The one who owns, who built. Oh my God. I heard him shouting in the background. Margaret. Margaret, get in here right now. What's wrong, Richard? Mom's voice came, faint but audible. It's Emma, Emma's Phoenix. What are you talking about? Emma Phoenix, the businesswoman. The one who bought Riverside Mall. The one who owns half the venues in the city. That's our Emma. I heard Mom gasp. Emma, Dad's voice returned, shaky now. Sweetheart, there's been a misunderstanding. Has there? Yes, a huge misunderstanding. We had no idea you were so successful. Why didn't you tell us? You never asked. But Emma, we thought, we assumed. You assumed I was a failure. Not a failure, he said quickly. Just struggling like most people your age. Most people my age don't own $2.8 billion in real estate assets, I said coolly. Something crashed in the background. Probably Mom fainting. Emma, listen to me very carefully, Dad said, slipping back into his business tone. We can fix this. We can call the venue back and... The venue you already canceled? Yes. We can uncancel it. Reinstate everything. With what money? What do you mean? Well, you said you couldn't afford it. That it was beyond your means. That I needed to find someone who could afford me. Emma, that was before we knew. Before you knew I could pay for it myself? Yes, exactly. I stood and walked to the window. Down below, I could see the Grandaunt Estates event coordinator setting up for a corporate retreat. My corporate retreat. Dad, let me ask you something, I said. If I were still just regular Emma, living in my apartment driving my old Honda, would you have reconsidered? Would you have called me this morning and said, you know what, Emma, we were wrong. We love you and want you to be happy regardless of money. Silence. Would you have apologized for humiliating me in front of Mom and Jessica? For canceling the most important day of my life without even discussing it with me first? Emma, please. The answer is no, Dad. You would have left me heartbroken and weddingless, and you'd have felt good about it. Responsible even, like you taught me a valuable lesson about living within my means. That's not fair. We were just trying to help. You were trying to control me, I said quietly. Just like you always have. I heard Mom's voice in the background. Give me the phone. Emma, honey, she said sweetly. Mom. There's been a terrible miscommunication. Has there? Yes. We had no idea about your business success. We're so proud of you. Are you proud of the business or proud of the money? Both. Emma, you're our daughter. We've always been proud. Yesterday you told me to find someone who could afford me. What changed? Well, now we know that. That I can afford myself? Silence. Mom, I said, let me save you some time. I'm not reinstating the wedding. I'm not giving you your deposits back. And I'm not pretending this conversation never happened. Emma, you're being unreasonable. I'm being exactly as reasonable as you were yesterday. I heard Jessica's voice in the background. Is she serious? She's actually not giving us the money back. Put Jessica on, I said. Emma, I don't think. Put her on. Fine. Here's Jessica. Hey, Emma. Her voice was cautious, fake sweet. So, this is weird. Hi, Jess. I had no idea you were like, rich. I'm comfortable. Comfortable? Emma, you own half the city. Not half, I said. Maybe 30%. This is insane. Why didn't you ever say anything? Would it have mattered? What do you mean? Yesterday you recorded my fiancé throwing my car keys in the lake and posted it online. You called my wedding plans stupid and said I was wasting money. Would you have done that if you'd known I was wealthy? Well, no, probably not. So, you're only kind to people who have money? That's not what I meant. It's exactly what you meant, Jess. You treated me like garbage because you thought I was poor. Now you want to be best friends because you found out I'm rich. Emma, come on. How many social media posts did you make mocking my cheap lifestyle? Pause. Emma, how many times did you joke about my car, my apartment, my job? I asked. That was just sister stuff, she said lightly. Put Dad back on, Emma. Wait. Put him on. Dad's voice came on, quieter now. Emma, we need to talk about this face to face. No, we don't. Yes, we do. We're your family. This is family business. Family doesn't cancel each other's weddings out of spite. It wasn't spite. We genuinely thought. You thought wrong about everything. He sighed deeply. Emma, what do you want? What will it take to fix this? There's nothing to fix, Dad. You made your position clear. I'm just respecting it. Our position was based on incomplete information. No, I said sharply. Your position was based on the assumption that I was worthless. Now that you know I'm not, you want to change the rules. That's not fair. You know what's not fair? Having your parents cancel your wedding because they think you're not good enough for their standards. Emma, please. I have to go. I have a board meeting. Emma, wait. What about Marcus? What about your wedding? I smiled. What about it? Are you still getting married? Of course. Where? Same place. Same date. Same time. But how can you? We canceled everything. You canceled the booking that was in your name, I said calmly. You never had any authority over the booking in mine. Silence. There are 2 contracts for the grand estate on September 15th, I explained. The one you signed as the paying party, and the one I signed as the property owner. You canceled yours. Mine is still active. You mean? I mean my wedding is happening exactly as planned. The only difference is that you're not invited. Neither is Mom or Jessica. You can't uninvite your family from your wedding. Watch me. I hung up. My phone immediately started ringing again. I turned it off. An hour later, Sarah knocked on my office door. Emma, there are some people here to see you. They say they're your family. I looked up from my laptop. Tell security to escort them off the property. Are you sure? Positive. 20 minutes later, my personal phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. Babe, your dad just called me. He's very upset. He says there's been some kind of family emergency about the wedding. Should I be worried? I called him immediately. Marcus. Hi, Emma. What's going on? Your dad sounded like he was having a breakdown. It's a long story. Can you come over tonight? I need to tell you something. Of course. Are you okay? I'm better than okay. I'll explain everything. That evening I told Marcus the whole story. About Phoenix Hospitality Group, the $2.8 billion empire I had built in secret, my family's betrayal, and their desperate attempts to backtrack once they discovered the truth. He listened quietly, his expression shifting from confusion to amazement to anger. They canceled our wedding because they thought you were poor? He said finally. Essentially, yes. And now they want back in because they found out you're wealthy? That's the general idea. He shook his head. Emma, that's horrible. I'm sorry I never told you about the business, I said softly. I wanted to be sure you loved me for me, not for what I could provide. Are you kidding? I'm not upset about the money. I'm upset about how they treated you. He took my hands. You're getting married in 3 weeks. You should have your family there. They made their choice. People make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake, Marcus. This was who they really are when they think no one important is watching. He was quiet for a moment. What do you want to do? I want to marry you at the Grand Montate, surrounded by people who actually care about us. I want to start our life together without the toxic influence of people who only value me when I can benefit them. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. The next morning I drafted a formal letter to my family. It was delivered by courier at 9 a.m. sharp. Dear Dad, Mom, and Jessica. Thank you for clarifying your feelings about my life choices and my value as a family member. Your decision to cancel my wedding without consultation has saved me years of wondering whether you truly supported my happiness or simply tolerated it when convenient. Please consider this my formal notice that you are no longer invited to participate in my wedding or any future life events. This decision is final and non-negotiable. For the record, I built Phoenix Hospitality Group from nothing, while living in that tiny apartment you all mocked. I worked 18-hour days for 4 years to create something meaningful while you assumed I was failing to meet your standards. The fact that you now want to celebrate my success after trying to sabotage my happiness tells me everything I need to know about your character. Marcus and I will be married as planned on September 15th. We will build our life together surrounded by people who value integrity over wealth and love over status. I wish you well in your future endeavors. Sincerely, Emma Phoenix, CEO, Phoenix Hospitality Group. The wedding was perfect. Marcus and I exchanged vows on the terrace overlooking the lake, surrounded by 127 people who genuinely cared about our future. My college roommate Sarah was my maid of honor. Marcus's brother Jake was his best man. The flowers were exactly what I'd dreamed of, white roses and baby's breath, just like my grandmother's garden. During the reception, as I danced with my new husband under lights strung between ancient oak trees, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years around my family: pure, uncomplicated joy. My phone, tucked away in the bridal suite, showed 47 missed calls and 23 voicemails from various family members. I deleted them all without listening. 6 months later, I received a formal apology letter from Dad. It was 3 pages long and mentioned my impressive business acumen 14 times. He requested a meeting to discuss our family's future relationship. I sent back a single sentence: "Some bridges once burned cannot be rebuilt." A year after that, Jessica reached out through LinkedIn, asking if Phoenix Hospitality Group had any entry-level marketing positions available. Her message included a long explanation about how much she'd grown as a person and how sorry she was for not recognizing my achievements sooner. I forwarded her resume to HR with a note: "Please file under do not hire." Today Marcus and I live in a beautiful home overlooking the lake, just 10 minutes from the Grand Montate. We host dinner parties for friends who knew us when we were just a nonprofit worker and a girl with a laptop, building dreams in a tiny apartment. Sometimes I drive past my parents' house on the way to a meeting. Their cars are older now, their lawn less perfectly maintained. I've heard Dad's investment firm has struggled since the market downturn. Mom works part-time at a boutique. I feel no satisfaction in their struggles, but no guilt about their absence either. They taught me an invaluable lesson about unconditional love. It's only unconditional if it doesn't depend on your bank account, your career, or your ability to meet someone else's definition of worth. My wedding was exactly the circus they said it would be. A beautiful, joyful celebration of 2 people who chose each other without conditions. And I paid for every penny of it.